All right. Well, I'm excited to get into it here. It's Ben Valentine, Freddy Castro. We are on a November YouTube challenge, breaking down one video published to YouTube, long form video, every day,
hmm
Monday through Friday for the month of November. So
Yep.
we're just a few days in here, and we're doing this once a week. Recap, just to kind of get together and talk about what we're learning, and post these videos as well, just to maybe share what it's like trying to start our own YouTube channel and get the ball rolling. And Freddie, last week we talked. The big takeaway was no more excuses, right?
Yep.
And so this is why we called this channel Daily Compound, is because we want to not focus on waiting until we have it all figured out and just have one big success. We
Yeah.
want to focus on getting 1% better every day. And let me tell you, doing a few videos already, I'm feeling that, right? It's only
hmm
1%. Like, I'm feeling that. And so,
Absolutely.
but I'm excited. I'm excited to kind of dive in and get some takeaways. So in this, podcast, we want to talk about three takeaways here. So number one, we're just going to do a progress update. We can just dive in and kind of share our screens and talk about the videos that we did this week. Number two, let's talk about our unexpected challenges, the things that we didn't really expect were going to be really difficult. And then number three, we can talk about some little victories, little wins, things that we maybe didn't expect were going to be as easy as they were or as good as they were. And we can kind of just dive in and give our takeaways from there. All right, cool.
Yeah. I love it. Let's do it.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll let you go first if you want to dive in and just share your
Sure.
screen and show
Yeah.
us some updates on your channel.
Sure. Let me make sure that I know what I'm doing here. Okay. All right. So here is
Nice.
my channel page. You're going to see some of my stuff here. I'm fine with you people
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah.
You can see how much I love Pokemon because I follow a lot of Pokemon uh
That's awesome.
channels here.
And right off the bat, dude, I just gotta say,
Yeah.
I mean, you are in the design space, so it already makes
hmm
sense. But I love the way your channel looks. I like
Thank
the
you.
headshot. I like your banner. I
I
like the
appreciate it.
style of thumbnails that you're going with. I'm
Thank you.
not a designer, but I have a very big appreciation for clean design. So
Thank
kudos
you.
to you.
Thank you. Oh man, I already feel so affirmed. um, I love it. Yeah. So, for context, for those who might not know, part of what I'm doing is not just necessarily to grow like my actual business, which is like a branding and design studio, but part of the bigger thing is actually to help creatives and in their journeys, because I found a long time ago that a very common thing in the creative industry is just like burnout and fatigue and uninspired creatives and you know lack of motivation and all that stuff. And so I wanted to I found that in all of it, you know, in myself and other creatives, there was this sense of like wonder and joy that we all kind of lost when we compared to when we first, you know, found that creative thing that we loved. And so, for me, I want to try to help creatives get back to that place. And so that's kind of the general like the thing that's like my thing. So I'm calling this, you know, more of like a uh, encouraging creatives to find creative renewal. And so that's what I talk about. So, you know, in these first few videos, I really wanted to kind of give kind of intro a little bit of like some of my like my world perspective and my world view and how I see, you know, how I address those challenges as a creative with, you know, burnout and things like that. And so I wanted to talk a lot about that, share a little bit of my story, but then also start to introduce some frameworks that I've created. Uh, and it's really nothing like too fancy. You know, I am fortunate enough, so is Ben. We both have, you know, video photo backgrounds. And so I have, you know, kind of some leftover old gear that I started using. And but really it's just one take, you know, and we kind of just take it mostly at face value. And um, so I think that's one thing to know here is uh, we definitely are learning as we go, and we've definitely hit some roadblocks. I love how we just like text each other like, "Oh man, this just happened." Uh, and so yeah, so that's kind of the general content of my video content that I have on my channel. Eventually, there will be some other avenues, which spoiler alert, there may be some involvement with Pokemon stuff in the future. But I think this is a great place to start to kind of just introduce myself because nobody knows who I am. So, yeah. Anything else that I need to walk through, Ben?
Well, why don't you talk about um, while you're here, maybe you can just
Hmm.
dive into your own unexpected challenges and
Yeah,
little victories.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
you can maybe it'll be a little more fresh of like, in this video I was doing this, and then in this
Hmm.
one I was doing this, and this happened, and
Yeah,
so it can kind of
absolutely.
just be real direct instead of just going back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I won't click through because I think that might be a lot. But this first video right here, this was my very first video. It was in the office that I'm in right now, and it was actually really simple. It was just on my iPhone, and then I used the microphone that I use for calls and things like that. And I found that very fun to do because it was just like normal. It wasn't any I wasn't trying to, like, overdo it. I wasn't worried about the lighting. I wasn't I have these, terrible fluorescents in this office, and so I think, like, I think one of the biggest challenges was getting over the original mindset that I have as a former videographer and photographer. Like, getting over that, like, perfection and just, like, doing it and just turning on the video the video mode on your iPhone and then putting it on a little stand and then hitting record and then hoping it all goes well. So I
Yeah,
definitely, had a few takes, um I think it was really what I also noticed in this was I had some challenges on like with the actual like physical space. So, there's clearly you can probably hear it on our call here, like there's some echo. We're kind of we just got into this office, so we're kind of slowly, you know, putting everything together here, and so there's some echo in here. There's some like reflections in the room, but and as an audio person as well, I'm like, oh, this is bothering me so much,
yeah,
but I just kind of have to get over it. Like we've talked about a lot, no excuses. So once I kind of got over that hump mentally, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like be Freddy, and I'm just gonna do this, and I
yeah,
think that's really like come through. So uh, those are some of the challenges in this first video. These videos in the middle here were hilarious because this was actually in my basement studio, and
yeah,
I'm using my wife recently got a new camera, so I'm using our 5D Mark IV that we've had forever, and it's a great camera. I think it's one of the most legendary DSLRs from Canon, but it's I don't even know how many years old it is, and
yeah,
uh, so, I had a lot of technical challenges, even though it was in my studio setup in my basement, because it was like, okay, my old, like, I actually have it right here. Like, I saved this old, Ceramonic, like,
oh yeah,
wireless mic, and, are very common now, but this was like one of the first, like, more affordable versions of what like the DJI stuff does. And after 5 years of use, it's like it just kept crapping out, messing up. It was
yeah,
turning off. I remember I did one take and I felt so good about it, and then I come back and I realized that the microphone just shut off in the middle of the take, and so really frustrating. And I kept pushing through it. I just was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going. Once I figured out what was going on, and technically wasn't posted on the day that it should have been posted, because I posted it at like 1 a.m., I believe. So,
Oh
uh,
yeah, I remember that one.
yeah, yeah, but that's
I'll
okay,
count
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I still did it. That
The
was
day
kind of
doesn't end until you go to sleep. So
that's right, that's right. So, was proud of myself, and I kind of had learned. So I think that one lesson from that is you can kind of just take those little technical issues you had or those little things you were doing on camera, and you
yeah,
can take notes for yourself and then improve on the next one instead of
yeah,
trying to like get each video completely perfect. You just kind of improve as you go. And so the next one that stuck out in a cycle of burnout, number episode 3 is what I'm calling it. I think that one went a little like way smoother. I recorded that last night, and uh, that went really well. It kind of just talks about, you know, it helps people find the clear, like some signs of burnout that they might be experiencing when they might not realize that they're actually burned out. Um, and so I think one thing one challenge I had last night was I was really exhausted. This is kind of the reality of like being business owners and having other obligations. I was really exhausted doing this,
yeah,
even though I was shooting it at like 9 o'clock at night. Uh, I was still really exhausted, and I didn't want. This was like the biggest challenge here was the mental thing of like I just want to go to bed.
yeah,
And but that's also the beauty of having to do this with alongside somebody like Ben, because then then it's like, oh man, then I'm not going to be able to text Ben that I did it.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
and also truthfully, like, and I talk a little bit about this just as a creative, like a very common uh challenge with creatives is comparison, and I know that's the case for any other human being, but especially in the creative realm, it's really, really rampant. And and I think like um there was also the other mental internal game of like, man, Ben is sending me the links to his videos at like way earlier in the day than I am, and I'm like behind. And then I caught myself being like, oh wait, it's okay, like Ben's not like
yeah,
thinking, oh, where's Freddy's thing. um and so I think once I kind of also got over that mental game, I just like, I'm just gonna do this, and then we ended up doing it, and then I
yeah,
came up with a better plan. And as you can see, I just posted this video here in this office about an hour ago, and that went really well. I was more prepared. You know, maybe we can talk later on how we have approached some of the videos. I know
yeah,
we texted a little bit about me scripting it beforehand and things like that, but um, yeah, we can talk about that later. But
yeah.
that's
No,
kind
I
of
think that's
generally
cool.
what some of the challenges I've been going through.
Yeah. Well, just to point out, number one, the power of accountability, right?
Hmm.
Like, because I'm in the
Yep.
same boat. You make a public commitment, and then you have somebody holding you accountable to that,
Yeah.
and you actually focus on output, not results, right? With no
Hmm.
subscribers, no views yet, like
Yep.
we're not succeeding by any means, except for in the sense of our output. We
Yeah.
are actually putting out content. And so I
Hmm.
think that the power of accountability is really valuable there.
Yeah.
Number two, as we're doing this together, as we notice these little insecurities boil up in us, um, that it literally is content,
Yeah.
right? And what I'm
Absolutely.
realizing as I kind of try to think about, like, one of the hard things is, what do I make? What's the next video?
Hmm.
Most people are doing one video a week or one video every 2 weeks. When you're doing
Yeah.
one a day, you're like, what's the next video I need to make? And so
Yeah.
when you start to loosen up, and it doesn't need to be this over polished, and you're just talking about your own personal experiences in the niche that you talk about,
Hmm.
um, insecurities can literally be an indication of content, of like,
Yeah.
oh, well, let me talk about that.
That's really good. I
And
love that.
so literally what you were voicing, you were experiencing is the
Hmm.
topic of the video that you made that day.
Hmm.
And so
Yep.
it's cool to see that, like, we're not YouTubers in general are not these people that have arrived. They're just talking
Yeah.
about their own problems on camera. And
Yeah.
so it's
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah. I think that's the fun thing, right? Is it's really truly about the journey. It's not trying to be buttoned up and have it all figured out and all that. I think a lot of us try to compare ourselves to, name whatever creator you follow or enjoy or are influenced by. But I think realizing that, like, uh, you know, there is a space that you can create for your voice and your story and your own journey, and it starts with just doing this. And I would love to talk more about that too. But I would love to for you to take your turn and jump into your channel. Um, and as you pull that up, I'm just gonna shout out because you immediately affirmed me, so I'm gonna do that. I've loved the thumbnails.
Oh,
um,
good.
the thumbnails are so fun, and I love that I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're probably like it seems like I don't know what data you're getting, or if you're testing thumbnails, but I feel like you could probably test these different styles that, you know, you're working with, but I also love how they
Yeah.
still feel, all generally cohesive as well. And
Yeah.
I also don't know how you get these awesome, uh, little thumbnails of yourself.
Well, well, I can actually, it probably would be helpful to people to literally show people what I have been doing.
Yeah,
Because that was one of the, I'll skip ahead to my unexpected win,
yeah,
is the thumbnails I thought were going to be extremely difficult to make. And
mm,
I realized they're actually not that hard.
mm,
Like now thumbnails are extremely important. And so
absolutely, yeah,
I, they're not that hard for me to just get them done
yeah,
and out there. Now I would say that I've got what 36 views as my top video right
mhm.
now. This is nothing, right? That we're not
That's
talking
pretty
about big
great though.
results yet. It's literally just having gotten something out there, which was
Yeah,
my initial concern. So making all three of these videos, they're all a little bit different, right? This one's more of a tutorial, screen share, talking about how to
mhm,
use this perplexity tool for using AI in research. This one's more talking head style, and so I actually kind of liked just talking. So there's this new
yeah,
trend. Um, it's not really a new trend. It's actually an old trend. Vlogging was huge back in the day. But the thing
mhm,
about vlogging was you had to get famous for people to care about a day in the life video. But then people started doing all this TikTok short form and
mhm,
it burned everybody out on short form. So people actually appreciate long form now more than they used to.
yeah,
And people are really appreciating just more raw, organic, genuine content. And that's why this new, it's still vlog style where you just throw up a camera and you talk to it, but it's still based around a topic, based around your niche, your theme, your takeaway, your own personal experience about a certain area. And so this video, what happens if you take a month off of work? I literally talked about my experience building a business and
yeah.
taking
I
6 months
loved that one,
off.
by the way. It was so good.
It's like that. I kind of appreciated that style more because it was easier for me to make. It required less editing. Like I literally just kind of sat there and talked to the camera, no
Mhm,
script, recorded it. I just clipped down the ends, threw a little music underneath, and
yep,
published it. And so I think that I like that a little bit more than the tutorials are a little more work. They require more
yeah,
editing. They require more thought ahead of time. Whereas if I'm literally just talking about my own personal experience in life about something and making sure that there's a takeaway that adds value to somebody,
mhm,
then I might just do more of those. And I may even
yeah,
switch up this thumbnail style because this thumbnail style leans more heavy on higher production value style of videos,
mhm,
whereas your thumbnail style is much more, hey, this is just me and I'm just talking about my experience in this area. If it adds
mhm,
value to you, great. Right.
yep,
And I think that might be, I might pivot a little bit in that direction
yeah,
because yeah, but this video was literally that morning. I was listening to a podcast by somebody talking about this. Nolan Moltz, a big guy in the YouTube space. He used to work for Think Media. And him and somebody else were talking about these vlog style videos. And I was like, oh, I could do that. It's not
yeah,
a vlog walking around,
mhm,
a day in the life. It's literally just pick a topic, tell a story, and I was like, oh, let me try that out. So I pivoted my video for that day to this,
Mm,
and shot it, and it was pretty easy. So I
I
like
love
that
that.
style. And then this one yesterday, I actually like this backdrop the best. This is literally just at
Mhm.
my house, and my wife is a wonderful interior designer. Like she just can
Let's
decorate
go.
awesome.
Got the tree up. Let's go.
Yeah, the tree up, dude. We're a November 1st kind of family.
I love that.
So like I like this backdrop and the lighting the best and everything, but this one's also a little bit. This is a tutorial, but this, funny enough, this is my uh, unexpected roadblock, unexpected challenge.
Mm,
Is I got the DJI Osmo. I like the camera a lot in webcam mode while using Riverside. It tends to overheat, but it doesn't do it all the time. And
mm,
I don't always know when it's happening until I go to post and I realize it just skips every couple of seconds and it
mm.
basically makes the video unusable.
Yep.
And so I shot this 30-minute video and I was in between back-to-back meetings, sales, like you got to
Yeah.
remember, we're both running a business
Yep.
full time, which running a business full time is already more than the average full time job. And then on
Yep.
top of that, we're trying to cram this video in. So I'm just cramming this video in, did the research, prepped. I'm doing this tutorial video, running around a bunch of different tools, and I finish it. And I'm about to jump into another call. And I look at the recording, and it's unusable. And I was
Mm,
like, devastated. I was,
dude.
oh my God. I was like,
Yes.
this is so frustrating. And so I literally just had to throw together a last minute video about this Willow Voice AI tool. And it's
Mm,
a great tool. I believe in it. I probably would have made that video eventually anyway.
yeah.
Um, but that's why I have this video instead of the other video because
Yeah.
I was like, I need something super fast. And
Dude.
so
I totally
I
get it.
just had to throw it together.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
literally right after that, press stop on the recording, dove right into a client call. And they were like,
Mm.
why do you seem flustered? And I was like, please forgive me. Right. I was like, I am so sorry. I just, and we just went on with the call. But, this is the real unexpected challenges of trying to cram in a lot of content is you have real life and
Yep.
you also have to cram it in. So these videos are actually I don't know that I'm going to do as many tutorials as I thought, as much
Mhm.
as I might just tell my personal story of,
Yep.
like how to find freedom in business, freedom in
Yeah.
time,
Mm.
and then link that back to how I use technology to do that, but not so much from the tutorial front as I was originally expecting.
Yeah.
So
And
unexpected
maybe that's
challenge,
something
but
later, you know?
exactly
Like,
when you have a bigger team, better setup.
yeah, I think that's the thing too is like we you're not sometimes you don't find out what it actually feels like until you do it.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of in the same wavelength as you in the beginning. Like I had thought about like, oh, let me do some like, some of the design stuff that I, feel like I'm good at. So maybe I can do some sort of like, Illustrator thing or some Figma thing or some Squarespace thing. And I think like I was in the same place where I'm like, man, I just think this is gonna like take too much of my time right now. And then thankfully I kind of got into this really fun space that I feel like is working well for me. But I love that. And not that not that any of your videos were bad, but um, I really, for me, the one in the middle there, it has been one of my favorites so far. And so,
Yeah.
um, I think, just to encourage you, I think that's probably a good pivot. So,
Yeah. Well, I'll probably do more of these. Now, as
yeah.
far as the thumbnails, I'll show you
Mm.
guys
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
canva.com, right? So you can see my screen still going to Canva.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what I do is I go to templates. I literally type in YouTube thumbnail, and then I kind of skim through like, oh, which one stands out to me, right? Based off of kind of the style that I'm leaning on. And, maybe for this typing
Hmm.
one, I would have been like, oh, this is a cool option. So I click on this, I click customize this template, and then I take this dude and I delete it. And they usually have this little frame in here. delete that guy,
Mm.
or maybe not, right? And so what I do is I take a bunch of pictures of myself doing stupid stuff, right? Dumb faces that might fit.
Hey, look, it's
And
Dan.
Dan Martell, yeah, I used him in one of my thumbnails um, because I commented on him. And then I take this video. You use Canva Pro has the background remover, so I click on that,
Mhm.
and then uh, I just pull me down, make me a lot bigger,
Look at that.
throw it in there, boom, and then I just customize, right? So this was uh,
Easy.
words per minute, 40 to 200 plus, or no, yeah, words per minute,
So
before,
good.
after, like just, you just kind of
Easy.
figure it out and you just drag, center that guy, after, boom. You have a freaking
Done.
like,
Done.
like you just kind of figure something out and just throw it
Yep.
together. And so this was one of the unexpected wins, little victories,
Mhm.
was like I thought the thumbnail was going to be the hardest thing that I was going
Yeah.
to do, and it's actually not that hard.
Mhm.
Especially if you're doing more like your style of thumbnail where you just take a screenshot of one of the scenes in the video
Yep.
and then you just put a little caption on there. I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing is that packaging does matter. So your thumbnail
Mhm.
does need to stand out in the sense of
Yep.
mentioning the topic that you're going to talk about. So you have
Mhm.
thumbnail and then you have your title. And so
Yep.
those two things, I think they do deserve a little bit of research.
Mhm.
But just to talk about how I do that, right? This is how I have been getting those titles is Riverside. The reason I actually like it, it takes the full transcript. There's other ways to get a transcript of the video. But let me see. If I went into this video, I go into a project, I picked this project, the Willow Voice one, right? If I wanted to come down here and what did I do? This was my call to action. This was the actual tutorial. I copy this and then I open up Perplexity and then I paste it and then I say, find me the top videos that are similar to this transcript that I recorded. And then I basically start to do some research on this and I'll say, cool,
Mhm.
use those titles from those YouTube videos, use those titles and give me 10 YouTube title ideas based on best practices. Okay, so this is how I'm finding my titles because I don't want
Mhm.
to spend like this is super, super important, but I also don't have all the time in the world to A/B test right now, do all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
So we're just talking about shortcuts here to just make it to the level of it's just better than if you just try to come up with it yourself. Or if you
Yep.
just use ChatGPT, but you don't really have any good, so like Perplexity can really just go out and find any videos that are similar to that topic you're
Mhm.
talking about, find
Yep.
out their titles, figure out which ones were successful there, and then use them here. And so,
Brilliant.
everybody's got their own thing, but I
Yep.
think that really helped me to get the packaging done, which
Mhm.
is topic, title, thumbnail, and then your description. I like to put the timestamps in there, which helps you kind of have the little chapters in
Yep.
your video. And so
Mhm.
that's how I've been doing that.
I love that. I think, to encourage people to, especially my fellow designers, like I have I have I have a confession to my designers. I used Canva for my thumbnails. It's like it's it's not that big of a deal. I found a template that I liked. I changed it to the font that I have been using for my own personal brand,
Yeah.
and that way it looks like me and feels like me. And, tweaked the layout and it took me 5 minutes, right? And now I just literally copy and paste it. And right
Yep.
now I don't really care about the data. Like we're here to show up, right? And
Yep.
so it's like literally all I have to do is change the photo out. And
Yeah.
um and so I think like that that is just like another way to reinforce like, hey, sometimes we don't need to just focus on perfection. Like we need to
Yeah.
focus on, uh, there's I see my thumbnails and I can already point out the little details in design where I'm like, oh, maybe I should work on that, like the the kerning between this letter and this letter because it looks kind of weird. And I'm like, no, 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 like stop.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna I'm just gonna do it. And I think
Yep.
that's part of the reason why we're here, you know? So I love it, Ben. I love the channel. I love the way it looks. And I think your content has been really great. And I've learned a lot, not only just from talking with you here, but uh, seeing your videos. So
Good, man. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I think something you said earlier was 100% true is when you don't know until you do it.
yep.
Right. And so, like, I have watched for, I want to say almost 2 years now, at least 18 months. I just went heavy down the how to start a YouTube channel
Mhm.
rabbit trail, right? Watching
Yep.
all the videos, reading the books, studying, what other people are doing, to the point where you kind of feel like the expert, right? I actually feel
Mhm.
like I know what it takes to start a YouTube channel. The problem is I haven't done it. And so until you do it, you actually don't know anything. And
Yeah.
so I've always been the biggest fan of just diving in head first and doing it. And I do that in
Mhm.
most things, most areas of my life.
Same.
But for some reason with YouTube, whatever it may be, the insecurity of getting on camera, feeling like, and I think that's the biggest regret that I have is now that I'm starting to do this, I'm literally realizing, dude, no camera, maybe I think audio is important, so spend $100 on the DJI Mic
Mhm.
Mini, something like that. Plug it into your phone, get a $20 phone stand,
Yep.
point it at your face, and tell your freaking story. And
Yes.
so I'm like, I could have done this a year ago. No production value, no lights, no editing.
Yep.
Just start talking about your niche, and you're going to learn a lot, number one, and you're going to gain. Like, there are people that have 100,000 subscribers literally filming on their little crappy phone, like not even any editing. And these people are
Yeah.
in like their 50s and 60s, and they don't, like,
Oh
literally, these people
yeah.
are getting famous on YouTube doing
Yeah.
what some people are calling grandpa style.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
just,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just turning on my camera and I'm
Yeah.
recording. And so I'm like kicking myself that I didn't start a year ago.
Yeah.
So anybody
Absolutely.
watching this right now, I'm like, just
Mhm.
stop making excuses. Focus on that 1% every
Yep.
day. We made excuses too long. And now, like, my
Mhm.
biggest regret is I didn't start this a year ago because I probably would have had more of a stable flow of leads for my business
Yep.
right now without having to start right now. It would have
Mhm.
been it takes time to build that up, and I would have started a year ago when I said I wanted to start.
Yeah.
So, can't look back with regret in the sense of like,
Sure.
oh, boo hoo, but
Yeah.
I can look back and learn
Mhm.
that I'm like, there is no excuse. I could have started.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think there's also like the other part of the spectrum on this idea. I think you can be like us, where we spent all the years making excuses and we just never started. I'm also guilty of the other side of the spectrum where um, maybe I go a little too hard and like trying to make everything perfect.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, one of the things that I wish I did was, my last video I just posted this morning. It talks a little bit of my journey, and I actually, you know, jumped into my design business full time almost 2 years ago. And what I wish I did was that I wish I had just started and recording like all the things and recording more of my journey, because it probably would have been helpful for a lot of other fellow creatives. But I think, you know, I just, yeah, I'm like you, Ben. I just wish I started earlier.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning of this year, I actually, um, I actually went pretty hard in making content. It wasn't the pace we're doing right now, but it was still like I'm making content. Part of my deal, and we'll see some of this in the future probably. But part of my deal is I also love desk setups and like technology and things like that, because I think those are all these things are great tools for us as creatives. And I started to make like fun videos, where I would kind of highlight, you know, I would just make short form videos of, you know, me unboxing something or,
Yeah.
whatever. And those really took off, and it was fun. However, once I hit a busy peak of my business, I was like, I can't do that right now. I have to do this. And so
Yeah.
then I made excuses of like, well, like, then I, have this internal battle of like, well, like, I don't want to post like something like crappy or like low level because everything I'm doing is, feels high level now and like this and that. And so I already started making excuses. So I would even say like, even when you start on the other end of the spectrum where the production value is great and all that stuff, like it might be like perfect, that can still be an issue, because then
Yeah.
you start putting pressure on yourself to uh, you create the standard for yourself that you can't actually like live up to.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like, you if you really look at, again, I've mentioned this earlier, but I started collecting Pokemon cards again, and one of the interesting things about, um, the Pokemon like world, like the content creators in this sphere, is that there is this mix of like some of them have really great quality, production value, but then half of their other videos are just like, you know, what's really big in like the card world right now is like these vendor POVs. So literally they just plop a camera up next to their, table at the card show, and it just
Yeah.
films every interaction, and then they go through and edit and find all these, key reactions, and it's just like this long form thing. Some of these guys also just live stream it, and then it's content
Yeah.
already. And so, you know, none of these things are like super fancy. And so and some of these people have like incredible followings and they're doing incredible things. And so I think that's just something to keep in mind is, you can no matter what part of the spectrum you're in, you can either like be too much of a perfectionist, or you can just like not be a self-starter and make
Yeah.
excuses like we have, right? And so unfortunately I feel like I've been on all of the ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, they're all excuses,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
you and I, whether it be, being insecure, too scared, too much of a perfectionist, I want to do it a certain way, whatever it may
Hmm.
be, there's always going to be an excuse or a reason that's probably valid.
Yeah,
More than likely is a valid excuse.
absolutely.
Like you and I
Yeah.
just don't we don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I've got a wife and a daughter, you've got kids and a
Hmm.
family, and
Yep.
we've got a business to run, and we've
Yep.
got other priorities outside of work, and
Hmm.
we don't have time for this. But at the same time, learning to pick your priorities of we don't have time not to do this.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
another angle that I wasn't looking at
It's
of,
good. Yeah.
we have to figure out what excuses we're making and just push past them. And
Hmm.
so, for us, I know I believe that YouTube is, content in general. When I look at every business that I have followed that I think they've blown up and I've learned a ton from them, it's been in content form, some shape or form, whether it
Yeah.
be, short form or written form or video long form on YouTube. In some shape or form, it's been some kind of an individual sharing their story or sharing their knowledge over some type of content
Yeah.
on a social platform. And,
Hmm.
in January, I just felt really convicted, right? We talk about this faith journey with
Hmm.
you and I just
Yep.
felt this conviction of you are a massive consumer and you have benefited from other people contributing so that you can consume and become better. And it's time for you to be a contributor.
Yeah.
And I was switching from consumer to contributor.
Hmm.
And I'm passionate about it. I love to give back. I love to be generous. I love to
Yep.
help people. But I was insecure, right?
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
was letting the high
Same.
production value, keep me from doing it on any
Hmm.
social platforms. And so it took me, January to November now. So 11 months almost
Yeah.
of just not doing it. And so
Yeah.
I'm super stoked that we're doing it. And I do think it was the
Same.
Lord that brought you and I together, just ran into each other at
Yes.
Thrive. And
Yeah.
a week later we were making content.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy. Yeah, it I think about it a lot where, like, it's wild how it all kinda lines up because I was pretty much in a similar space. I think, you know, I don't know how much we want to talk about, the kinda spiritual and faith side, but, like,
well, I
I
think
think
it's everything. So
yeah, yeah,
lean in.
yeah, so for me, like, I think what you're kinda tapping into, Ben, is for me what I feel like I'm going through in my own spiritual journey in my walk with God, because I think you kind of live life, growing, and you're walking with Jesus, and you're kind of trying to like figure out where like your calling is, and like all these different things. And the more like the older I get, I kind of just have started to realize like I don't need my impact is not determined by how many followers I have, or like how much revenue I'm making in my business, or any of that. I realized like there was a point in my life where I kind of realized, oh, um, I don't really actually know like what success should look like. And in my faith journey, I started to realize success is one, obviously, fulfilling our greatest calling as Christians, which is to share the gospel and to make disciples and to baptize them in the name of Jesus, right? I think there's that component, but then there's also this other component of the way we live our life. And am I going to build everything up and work, work my tail off, um, but still like and have like all the revenue in the world, or have all these things, and, but still like lose my soul, you know?
Yep.
And I think part of like what helps us not lose our soul is like giving back,
Yeah.
because I think there's a certain point that everyone reaches in their life where they realize we've kind of been, maybe like you're like me. I realized I was just trying to hoard all this stuff for myself. And when it really came down to it, when I really evaluated everything in my life the past few years, I realized that like success for me had nothing to do with my creative career, had nothing to do with the position that I had, or the role that I had, or the money I was making. It had everything to do with I want to be known for how I loved people.
Yeah.
I want to be known for I don't want my kids to, like, know that, uh I don't want my kids to, like, be at my funeral. It's a little
Yeah.
morbid, but, I don't want them to, like, get up on the mic and say, "You know, my dad worked really hard,
Yeah.
and that's it."
Yeah.
I want everyone, like, my family, my kids, my friends, my community, I want people to say stuff like, "Man, Freddie did a lot of different things, but, like, he loved me really well."
Yeah.
And he was also generous, and he was, all of those things matter more to me than anything else, honestly. And so I think like part of me like loving people well is also giving back. So coming back to what you said earlier, it's like, dude, like, no, like I feel like I've got some skin in the game, you know.
Yep.
I'm still learning a lot about the business side. But as far as like creative stuff goes, I feel like I've got some skin in the game, and I feel like I have something to offer. And
Yeah.
for me personally and how I'm wired, it's always been conversations like this. It's always been encouragement, um, supporting people, helping people. And so that's kind of when I like realized that all I have to do is show up as myself.
Yeah.
One of the, we talked about earlier how we want to talk about our unexpected wins. One of the unexpected wins is it actually came from one of the most important voices in the world to me, which is my wife. And she saw my first video, and uh, this meant a lot to me because she said, "I love that this just feels like you."
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. That's what I
Yeah.
need to tap into. And
Yeah.
so I think like I think that's the big thing we miss sometimes is we try to like just focus on building something without understanding that there's a point in a season where we have to start giving back. And I think the
Yeah.
same thing for both of us. I think both of us feel that way about a lot of different things. But I think, even from a business perspective, like I think what you guys are like, if you're watching this and keeping up with what we're doing, I think what you're actually seeing is what actually happens really to entrepreneurs and small business owners. Like, it's not like someone just kind of started like everything perfectly. It's literally like, no, like there's struggle, there's unexpected challenges, there's
Yeah.
wins, there's losses, there's all the things. And I think like that's also what this is about, is to also show like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's part of being human. I ran into someone, a fellow Thrive member, shout out to the Thrive tribe. Um,
Yeah.
I ran into someone, one of the Thrive members at the coffee shop downstairs, and we were talking about work and all that stuff, and he said something really subtle, which was kind of caught my attention, and he said, um, we're talking about being tired and all that, and you know, I never know how to ask the question when some, fellow business owners ask me, they're like, maybe you're in a networking room or you see someone at a coffee shop and they're like, how's business? And you're like, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to answer that.
It's a loaded question for
It's a
sure.
loaded, yeah, it's a loaded question. But I think, you know, I think I said something along the lines of like, I'm just doing what I can today. you
Yeah.
know, and and I think he said something really, really cool, and he was like, yeah, I think that's okay. Like, you give it your best on like today. You
Yeah.
give today the best you have to offer, and then tomorrow may be better or worse than it was, but
Yeah.
that's okay. That's just part of work and business. And so I think
Yeah.
like that's something we have to also understand, because clearly like we're not experts at what we do, like here on the YouTube side, and we're learning as we go. And I think uh that's the really cool thing, and I feel like I'm having a monologue right now, so I'm sorry, but
No, this
um
is good, man.
yeah.
It's
So
good
I think
stuff.
like, yeah, I think it's it's funny. I think this journey, this challenge already just in the first week has like taught me so much about myself,
Yeah.
and I'm really grateful for it. So I can't believe it's only week one.
I know, dude. Yeah. When you're doing a challenge like this, that's a very
Hmm.
aggressive, rapid pace of something, which I'm a fan of because it
Yeah,
makes you learn faster. If you really look at it, like we could be
yeah,
4 videos in, could be 30 days, right? And we got
yeah,
that in 4 days. And so
yeah.
the lessons that you learn really fast.
Hmm.
But I think what you were just saying, like it doing hard things teaches yourself a lot of things about yourself. You
Yeah.
you really start to understand more things about yourself, how you function, what you need to grow in,
Hmm.
and you learn a lot when you do hard things, especially alongside other brothers.
Yeah.
And so I'm a
Agreed.
fan, but I just want to like affirm what you were saying. Like everything that you were just saying kind of comes back to, I believe that all gifts come from God.
Hmm.
And I
Yep.
haven't found anything in scripture that suggests that any of our gifts are for us.
Mm.
And so God gives you gifts
Yeah.
and your gifts are for other people. And to
Mm.
steward those gifts, you have to increase those gifts. If you look at the parable
Yeah.
of the talents in scripture,
Yeah.
the person that took their gift, the 1 talent man, buried his gift in the ground so that when the master came back, he could just give that talent back to the 1 talent back to the master.
Mm.
But he was called wicked for not
Mm.
increasing that talent. And
Mm.
so the person that was given 3 talents and 5 talents, and they went out and they multiplied that and gave the master back 10 talents. To me, what that speaks is God gives us gifts, and
Mm.
number one, we need to multiply those gifts. And then number two, everything in scripture that talks about any gift we get from the Lord, talents, skills, things like that, you increase them and you use them to better other people and to help other
Mm.
people. And so if you look
Mm.
at the definition of ministry, it literally is meet the needs of the people. And so
Mm. It's
That's
good.
all we're doing, right? Ministry isn't church. It's not being a pastor. It's literally me in technology going out and helping people that don't get technology. It's
Yep.
you with creativity that go out and help people that don't get creativity. And so we're obviously going to struggle with this internal conflict if we're just using our
Yeah,
gifts for ourselves.
absolutely.
And we're not actually using it to help other people. So I'm
It's
super
good.
passionate about that. And I love the opportunity that now we're switching from just consumer to contributor.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Clip that, man. That's so good.
Cool, man.
uh,
Well, I think we got a lot of great stuff in this. I like these.
yeah,
These are great, like
me too.
self-reflect, just talk, hanging
Yeah,
out and recording it. And so,
I'm
dude, for
here for that.
anybody out there that's like, I wish I could start a YouTube channel, just get on that friggin' call with your buddy and record it and publish it, because you'd be surprised some of the gold that can come out of it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Well,
Agreed.
Freddie, I'm excited, man. We're gonna keep working here and see where we're at in about a month. But appreciate
Yes,
you coming
sir.
today, man. Excited to be
You too,
doing this
man.
with you.
Always good to chat. Same.
All right.
Agreed.